Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we continue talking about Fusion, and typically I would explain some feature and then demonstrate it on something that is completely separate, but today is going to be a bit different. Today I'm going to create some very simple 3D animation actually, and we're going to discuss everything that I want to tell you today using that on this creation of mine. So let's first of all go to effects, go to effects and drag a fusion composition in here. We're gonna place our playhead over our fusion composition and hand to fusion. Because this fusion composition does not contain any media in, we have only media output, and our viewers, they are empty because there is nothing to feed into our render into our media out. So we're going to create something. Today we're gonna have a closer look at something that is happening in 3D world, which is a little bit different to those nodes that are happening in the 2D world. And how is this different? Well, we're gonna need to find within these symbols, we're gonna need to find a 3D text. And now we're going to connect everything that we have in here to that 3D text. What do we actually need in here? First of all, we need a camera. It automatically created a merge 3D. It only can use not a like usual merge, but only merge 3D, because this is a 3D space. It is completely different from that is 2D. So we're gonna need a text. We always need a camera because we need to view our 3D like composition through something. And we also going to need lighting, right? We're gonna need a text, a camera, and a light. All of them are connected to the merge 3D. And if we cannot connect merge 3D to our media out, nothing is going to happen because it cannot render 3D world, 3D scene into a 2D without a 3D renderer. So to our 3D merge, we need to connect renderer 3D. Renderer 3D is going to interpret all of that and is going to feed it to media out. And right now it is completely empty. We're gonna click on the merge 3D and press 1. And this is our 3D viewport. It is a bit different from that of a 2D. How to move in here? I'm using a middle mouse button. Just click and drag. I'm gonna drag left and right, pressing Alt, I'm gonna rotate, and pressing Control and moving scroll wheel up and down, it's going to zoom in and out. Pretty simple. Now, what do we need to do in here, and what is actually happening in here? We're gonna click on text and type something like text, something completely unoriginal, but it's okay. I'm gonna click on the camera 3D. Because our camera is pressed on a text, it's not going to see anything, is it? So we're gonna move it back. You see these 3 arrows, they are used to move something within this 3D viewer. And as you can see, when we move camera back, we see our text revealed. Let's center it by moving the camera upwards, right? And we have a spotlight in here. If we move this spotlight back a bit and a bit like this, you see that I'm moving a 3D spotlight and nothing is happening. This is because just a moment. Our shadows are turned off. In the renderer 3D, we need to enable lighting and we need to enable shadows. So we have something that is going to calculate our light and everything. Now, as you can see, we're moving the light and it's having an effect on our text. But it's kind of boring, right? Maybe not boring. Okay, I'm gonna leave it in here. Maybe a bit further, but we're gonna move our camera to make it a little bit more 3D-ish. Camera 3D. Clicking here, we can move in the inspector. I'm going to explain everything about inspector a bit later. And I explained some things before. So we're gonna move along, God damn it, along the axis. We're gonna move it to the left, and we're gonna rotate it. Oops, not the right. Yeah, we're gonna rotate it to make it seem. If it's moving too fast, just press Control and hold it. Yeah, we're gonna look like it's make it look like it is really a 3D world. So text 3D, we need to make it thicker. So extrusion depth, we are making our text bigger. Extrusion subdivisions, bevel depth, holy moly. Yeah, let's make it like that. Smoothing angle. Yeah, we made our text appear 3D. We made it 3D. We made it have some volume. And now let's move finally to the thing that I want to explain during this tutorial. First of all of these things you can group. If you created something complicated and you need it to occupy less amount of space, you can select all of them and press Ctrl G. Now it is a group. You can double click it to open the group. You can move this group. You can collapse it back. Ctrl E to open and collapse it. And we have all of that within a group. If you want to ungroup it, if you do not really need that, right click, and here we should find, yeah, ungroup. Now it is the same thing as before. It is useful, but to some extent. But what I'm going to talk about, you can save a group. For example, you created some group, right click, settings, save as. And the group that you created and you saved, you can drag and drop in here in the node editor, and it's going to appear like a group. If you created something interesting and complicated and want to save it, this is the way to do that. But there is actually a better way to handle something complicated that you want to save. Let's ungroup all of that, and we're going to talk about macros. Macros is a more complex way to save a group, and actually these effects, open effects, no, not open effects. I'm always getting lost in here. Why? I do not really know. Why do I get lost in here? Because I am dumb. Yeah, doesn't matter. So these are in here. So these things, templates, fusion, these are saved as macros. What is the difference between saving a group and a macro? Group you cannot adjust before you throw into a fusion, into an alt editor. A macro you can be used in your edit page, and it can be altered right in the edit page. For your information, those transitions that can be located in the edit page, those are macros that somebody created, and now you can use them. I'm going to show you how to do that, but first how to create a macro. You can select all of that, right click, you're gonna find macro, create macro. And now this is very, this has become very complicated. Why? Because these are all of the parameters that this scene contains, and you need to select only those parameters that you want to be included in your macro. Okay? So for example, we select all of that, right click, macro, create macro. So before creating macro, you need to decide. For example, I need text 3D. I need it to be able to change it. For example, I need style text, I need font, I need color, I need something else. And you go through all of these and you select those parameters that you want to be able to alter without getting to fusion and without getting to creating the same thing. So you select all of them, and then you save it, save your macro. And then macro can be reused, can be used And to use a macro in here, you can right click, add tool, and here we should have macros. And we have, for example, heat distortion that I imported from from the internet. I do not really remember where I got it, but I've got a heat distortion. So I can get it in here like a macro. Okay. Now you can create a template using these macros, and templates like those moving titles that we have in here, for example, like titles, and all of these, they were created in the Fusion and saved as a template. You can do the same thing, and in order to save them as a template, you need to save it to a specific directory, and that directory is right now on your screen, where you need to save your macro to be able to reuse it as a template. Okay, the same thing can be done with transitions. For example, we have a video transition cross dissolve. We're gonna put it in here, gonna go in here, select it, right click, convert to Fusion cross dissolve, right click, convert to Fusion cross dissolve, open in Fusion. And right now we have in Fusion our cross dissolve transition. We can alter it the way we want, then we can save it by selecting everything and right click, create macro, choose all of the parameters that we need, and you need to put that macro to save it to this directory in order to be able to reuse it as your personal transition. Okay, so this is how your personal transitions can be created within the Fusion page. But we're gonna get back to our text, and we are going to talk about inspector. So you are familiar with inspector already, because I have talked about it in the edit page, in the count page. Inspector is everywhere. So we can select our text, and we have all of the parameters in here. As you can see, there are many like tabs in here compared to Camera 3D having only 3 of those. This is because depending on your node, the number of parameters will be changing. Some nodes have many parameters, some nodes have only like this one parameter. Inspector in here is subdivided into tools and modifiers. Tools is your like primary thing, where you will change everything that is happening to your node, and macros and modifiers is made for optional extensions. So if you're adding some extensions in here, your modifiers will enable and will show you those extensions. Right. You can customize your inspector. If you do not like the way it looks, if you do not like some parameters of the inspector, you can modify that by going to Fusion settings, user interface. You're going to modify everything that is happening in here. You can go through all of that and modify, but if you are a beginner, and this is tutorial for beginners, I wouldn't recommend going in here, because inspector is created beautifully. You do not really need to change anything about it. Right. We can have in here versions. If you click right in here, it's going to show you versions. What does it mean? It means that to a single node, you can make up to 6 different corrections and save them, like go through versions and choose the one that you like. Each version is going to be fed into here, and you can select the one that you like, and you do not really need to do anything about it. You can go to render and render it out. So I'm going to make some changes in here, then go to version 2, create some changes in here, and yada yada, up to 6 versions. And this way you can like experiment if you're like whether you like something or not. Can you close this? Yeah, I should be able to close this, but it doesn't really want me to do that. Yeah, in here it works perfectly, but in here DaVinci decided that, mate, I do not really want to do that. Maybe because I clicked several versions in here, and now it is showing me that I've got several versions. Do not really forget about that. Maybe. I don't really know. But so let's have a look at animating parameters. How would you animate any parameter in here? This is pretty much the same way you would animate a parameter anywhere in the inspector, and we're going to play with our light. So we want to create, by the way, our text is white. This is kind of boring. Let's make it something like blue. Wow, that is almost beautiful. So we spotlight. We need to this is not what I wanted. We need to create an animation, our spotlight coming from left to right, revealing our text. How would you do that? First of all, we're gonna go to the frame that you want, like the initial frame, for example, frame number 0. I'm gonna go to the left, and text is completely dark. We're gonna click this diamond. I'm gonna go to the right, like for example 45, 46 frames, and we're gonna move it to the right. And it created an auto key, and right now our light is animated. Okay, you can even, if you remember, we talked before, you can even open your spline editor, click this spotlight offset, click on this to view all of that, to view the line itself. Select your key points, press F, and this will create easing in and easing out. It means that the light is moving slowly at the beginning, quicker in the middle, and slower at the end. Okay, some basic spline work. But what do I need? If I wanted to attach the same animation curve to a different parameter, for example, I want this light not only just float from left to right, but also rotate. I don't know why. Why would you do that? But if you want it, right click on the parameter, connect to spotlight 1. Connect to, spotlight 1. And now this parameter, connect to spotlight 1 x offset. And now this parameter has absolutely the same animation, as you can see, as our previous parameter. So this is a time saver for you if you want to create an animation for multiple parameters and the animation is completely the same. But also you can connect multiple parameters, so if you change one parameter, the other parameter will change as well. Here is how to do that. First of all, we're gonna click, let's click in here, double click in here and press equals, press enter, and it's going to open an additional window. And this window is for expressions. For example, you can type many expressions in here if you know what you're doing. For example, you can tie this, we're gonna talk about that later, but you can tie the animation that is happening within this parameter to the time or to the number of frames. And when each frame is changing, the parameter is going to change as well. And you can multiply that by a different multiplier. We're gonna talk about that. But for now, all we need to know is that you can click in here and drag this line. This line can be connected to any parameter that you want, for example, to this one, and it's going to create automatically a command in here, transform 3D, OP, rotate, Y. And this way, if you change this parameter, you cannot change this parameter, I'm sorry. If you change this parameter, the second parameter that we tied before will be changing automatically. So this is a neat way to connect two parameters to a single expression. Also, you can do the same thing without really typing equals in here. Right click and click, no, not animate. Sorry, the wrong thing, expression. And you can click expression, and you're gonna see that the same exact window will appear in here, and you're gonna use this thing to connect it to any window that you want, right? Definitely. So we've created something that is almost beautiful. And if you view it in here, you see like a spotlight is coming over our text, and it's a simple animation, but we've created it ourselves. We didn't use any pre-existing like template. We've created it ourselves during this tutorial. So you can do the same thing. You can experiment with saving macros, with altering transitions, with all of that. And the next tutorial will be focusing on the spline in keyframe editors. We're gonna have a closer look at them. And for this tutorial, I guess this is everything that I wanted to tell you on connecting and attaching parameters. Yeah, this is probably everything I wanted to tell you. So thank you very much for watching. If you are still here, I'm gonna see you again in the next video, because it's going to take a lot of time to go through all of the fusion and all of the color and Fairlight and deliver. It's not going to take a lot of time, but fusion and color will. Again, thank you and goodbye.